Biology. Today I'll be covering neural control and chemical neural control in the first session. Briefly, I will run through how to access revision notes and test in classix.com. Open the page classix.com, click on the practice. Then you will get many packages. You can select any package of your choice. Since it's a NEET class, I'm selecting the NEET Premium. Here you will find lot of tests in physics, chemistry and biology, chapter wise test and NEET full test. Now let me click on biology tests. So here you see lot of bubbles, colored bubbles. Each bubble is a test. And now if you see a green bubble, it means that you have already completed the test. But you can always revisit the test any number of times for revision or to improve your scores. A blue bubble indicates that you have not taken the test yet and you are expected to complete the same. And yellow bubble indicates that you have not completed the test. You might have started the test and not able to answer the questions at adequate practice, or you lack the understanding of the concepts, so you might learn concepts and get back to the tests again. And you see here and the number of tests increases depending upon the complexity of the text material in the NEET exams. That is the reason why we find many chapters having different number of tests, and this bubble indicates randomized test. Once you have completed all these tests, for a quick revision you can check or click on the randomized test and take it to know yourself or to assess yourself, your concept understanding and its applications and also its recall. I hope now you have got to know how to navigate through the website. In today's class, I will be revising key concepts, do a practice test based on the concepts learned, and the last 5 minutes I will answer your queries if you have. Now, there is a revision notes button. If you click it, it will open into the PDF. Now, before that, I'm sure that you're all eagerly waiting for your NEET exams. I know it's a kind of mixed bag feeling you all will be having. If you're thoroughly prepared, you still are having that fear. But from our analysis of biology papers, what we see, there are 3 kinds of questions. One is NCERT based question. That is directly from the textbook they will be asking. Around 68 to 70 questions will be from NCERT textbook straight. So if you have learned the NCERT concepts properly and the text properly, it is going to be a cakewalk. Now, direct from the previous year's question papers, you will be having another 8 to 10 questions in the examination, and you can solve them if you have already solved these past question papers. Some of the questions may appear with slight modifications or no modifications. Exactly the same questions can appear. And modified questions, at least 8 to 10 questions in NEET will be newer questions. These will become the game changer for those for the students, because these can't be answered by mere mugging up of the concepts. So you have to understand the concept and learn how to apply the concept in a particular situation to get the marks right. So in this website, an earnest attempt has been made to help you prepare adequately for your NEET. I hope now you have got the framework, and let me begin with the lesson. So this is the chapter, and if you look at this PDF, we have put almost everything in such a way that it becomes very easy for you to learn. It is your 11th and 12th portions are all put up together in physics, chemistry and biology into 135 pages, giving importance to the key concepts what you had to know from NEET point of view. And I would suggest that it is a value addition for your study material and as a revising tool if you take this package. Now today the lesson is neural control and coordination. Now let us look into this chapter. Nervous system and coordination is a process through which 2 or more organs will interact and complement the functions of one another. In a body, the neural system and the endocrine system jointly coordinate and integrate all the activities of the organs and their functions. The system provides an organized network of point-to-point connections for a quick coordination. The endocrine system provides chemical regulation through hormones. Nervous system is found only in animals and absent in the plants. It controls the body by using a series of tissues throughout the body formed by a network of electrically conducting cells called neurons or the nerve cell. Now let us look at the structure of the neuron. So this is the structure of the neuron. Please identify all the parts and learn all the parts. They might ask you to identify the parts and its functions. Now a neuron is a microscopic structure composed of three parts: cell body, this is the cell body, this is the dendrites, and this is the axon. Dendrites are the cytoplasmic processes from the cell body. Cell body is also called the cyton or the soma. It contains cytoplasm with typical cell organelles and certain granules called Nissls granules. Axon is a single long extension of cell body and it is protected by neurolemma. So neurolemma is the plasma membrane like structure surrounding the neuron. Neurons are bundled together to form nerves. Nerves connect nerve centers to specific organs. Nerves can be insulated or non-insulated. The insulated nerves have coating of a myelin sheath. So here you find a myelin sheath and this is an insulated neuron. At certain places, the insulation or myelin sheath is interrupted and such places are called as the nodes of the Ranvier. So these are the interruptions you see in the myelin sheath and this is called as the nodes of the Ranvier. Now this is the synapse will be the junction between the dendrites of one neuron with axon terminal knobs of other neuron. The synaptic naps possess synaptic vesicles containing neurotransmitters. Now neurons are categorized into three groups: multipolar, it is one axon and has two or more dendrites and it is found in the cerebral cortex. So what you are seeing here is a multipolar neuron. Bipolar, it is with one axon and one dendrite and it is found in the retina of the eye. Unipolar, the cell body is with only axon and found usually in the embryonic stage. Now let us look at the next structure, that is the human nervous system. Now if you look at human nervous system, it is divided into two parts, namely it is central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. So this is the broader classification. Central nervous system is broken into brain and spinal cord. Peripheral nervous system consists of cranial nerves and spinal nerves, and nerve fibers of peripheral nervous system can be afferent nerves and efferent fibers. And how are divisions of PNS? If you look at it, it is somatic and neural system and autonomic somatic neural system and autonomic neural system. So with this framework, I'm going to explain to you about the human brain and other parts in detail. Let us look at the structure of the brain. So the central nervous system consists of brain and spinal cord and it is the site of information processing and control. Gray matter is made up of cell bodies of neuron and white matter has only nerve fibers. Brain lies in the cranium of the skull. Brain and spinal frog present in and around the brain and spinal cord. Now let us look at how brain is divided. If you look at the brain for the sake of study, it is divided into forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Cerebrum, olfactory lobes, thalamus and hypothalamus form the brain. Optic lobes, cerebral, peduncle all form the midbrain. Hindbrain is formed by the cerebellum, medulla oblongata and the pons. Now the brain is covered by three membranes or meninges. The innermost is the pia mater, outermost is the dura mater and middle one is the arachnoid membrane. So if you are able to remember PAD from innermost, that is pia mater, arachnoid membrane and dura mater, you will be able to get the meninges in the right order from inside to outside. Meningitis, you might have heard the term, that is the infection of the meninges which results in brain fever. Olfactory lobes are pair of small size structure completely covered by cerebrum. These are the center of the skull. Cerebrum is the largest part of the brain, covered by the cerebral hemispheres. The roof of the cerebrum is cerebral cortex. Cerebrum leads to consciousness, storage of memory or information. Thalamus is for integrity of sensory impulses sent from sense organs like ears, nose, and skin. Thalamus deals with pain, pressure, and temperature. Broca's area is present in the brain and it is related with speech, while Wernicke's area of brain is related with understanding the speech. Hypothalamus deals with water balance in the body, then behavioral patterns, sleep, stress, emotions, etc. It also regulates pituitary hormones and metabolism of fat, carbohydrate, and water. Midbrain deals with visual analysis, auditory impulses, etc. Cerebellum is in the bottom part of the head and back of it. Cerebellum controls the coordination of accurate movements and balancing. Medulla oblongata is the long connecting part of the brain to spinal cord. It deals with control of heartbeats, blood vessels, breathing, salivary secretion, and most of the reflex and involuntary movements. Now let us look at the spinal cord. Know about the spinal cord. It is a long cord-like structure at the back, centrally located and well protected by bony vertebral column. The inner butterfly-shaped area is the gray matter, and it is surrounding the white matter is composed, and its white matter surrounds the gray matter, and it is composed of bundles of myelinated nerve fibers. It gives out 31 pairs of spinal nerves in man. It deals with impulses to and from the brain, and it is the center for reflex action. So this is very important. Now let us look at the peripheral nervous system. Peripheral nervous system comprises of the nerves of the body associated with the central nervous system. These are afferent fibers and efferent fibers. Afferent fibers transmit impulses from tissues or organs to the central nervous system, and efferent fibers transmit regulatory impulses from the central nervous system to the concerned peripheral tissues. The PNS consists of somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is further divided into sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. Now, if you look at this, it is composed of 12 pairs of cranial nerves and 31 pairs of spinal nerves. Now, cranial nerves emerge from the brain, while spinal nerves are raised from the spinal cord. 10 pairs of cranial nerves are present in fishes and amphibians, but in man we have it is 12 pairs. But 37 pairs of spinal nerves are present in the rabbit. So this data I'm giving because in one or two exams they have asked the number of spinal nerves. Though it is from outside the textbook, I don't know why it was asked. Since it was asked, I'm giving you this data. The first 10 pairs are common for frog and rabbit. 31 pairs of spinal nerves include 8 pairs of cervical nerves, 12 pairs of thoracic nerves, 5 pairs of lumbar nerves, 5 pairs of sacral nerves, and 1 pair of coccygeal nerves. Now, peripheral nervous system is divided into autonomic nervous system, autonomous nervous system, and this was discovered by Langley, Langley. Langley. It is entirely motor and operates without conscious control. Autonomic nervous system consists of two divisions, sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system increases defense system of the body against the adverse conditions. It is active in stress condition like in pain, fear, and anger. Parasympathetic nervous system provides relaxation, comfort, pleasure at the time of the rest. It helps in restoration and conservation of energy. And somatic nervous system, it relays impulses from the central nervous system to skeletal muscles. Now, I hope you have understood this. Now, let me move on to impulse conduction. So, generation and conduction of nerve impulse. This diagram is very important. They will ask you the diagram and ask you to identify what is happening in the diagram or interpret the diagram. When a neuron is not conducting any impulse, that is when it is at resting, the axonal membrane is comparatively more permeable to potassium ions and nearly impermeable to sodium ions. The axoplasm inside the axon contains high concentration of potassium and negatively charged protons and low concentration of sodium. In contrast, the fluid outside the axon contains a low concentration of potassium and a high concentration of sodium, and it forms a concentration gradient. These ionic gradients across the resting membrane are maintained by the active transport of ions by the sodium-potassium pump, which transports 3 sodium ions outwards for 2 potassium ions into the cell. In this condition, the electrical potential difference across the resting plasma membrane is called as the resting potential. When a stimulus is applied at a site on the polarized membrane, the membrane is permeable to sodium ions. This leads to the rapid influx of sodium ions, followed by the reversal of the polarity at that site. The polarity of the membrane at the site A is thus reversed and hence depolarized. The electrical potential difference across the plasma membrane at the site A is called action potential or nerve impulse. At sites immediately ahead, the axon membrane has a positive charge on the outer surface and a negative charge on its inner surface. That is at site B is what I am talking about. On the outer surface, current flows from site B to site A to complete the circuit of the current flow. Hence, the polarity at the site is reversed and an action potential is generated at site B. Thus, the impulse generated at site A arrives at site B. This sequence is repeated along the length of the axon and consequently the impulse is conducted. The raise in the stimulus induced permeability to sodium ion is quickly followed by a raise in permeability to potassium ions. Within a fraction of a second, potassium ions diffuses outside the membrane and restores the resting potential of the membrane. Now let us look at what happens to the impulses at the axonic terminal. A nerve impulse flows from one neuron to another through synapse. A synapse is formed by the membranes of a presynaptic neuron and a postsynaptic neuron, which may or may not be separated by a gap called synaptic cleft. Now there are two types of synapses. One is electrical synapse, the other is a chemical synapse. At electrical synapses, the membranes of pre and postsynaptic neurons are in very close proximity. Transmission of an impulse across electrical synapses is very similar to impulse conduction along the single axon. Impulse transmission across the electrical synapse is always faster than that across a chemical synapse. Electrical synapses are rare in our system. Now, chemical synapses, the membranes of the pre and postsynaptic neurons are separated by a fluid-filled space called synaptic cleft. Axon terminals contain vesicles which are filled with neurotransmitters. When an impulse arrives at the axon terminal, it stimulates the movement of the synaptic vesicles towards the membrane, where they fuse with the plasma membrane and release their neurotransmitters in the synaptic cleft. The released neurotransmitters bind to their specific receptors present on the postsynaptic membrane. The binding opens ion channels, allowing the entry of the ions, which can generate a new potential in the postsynaptic neuron. So the next concept you are supposed to learn is about the reflex arc. Now this is very important. Please look at the diagram and identify all the parts, because this is very important from the exam point of view. Questions will be based on the diagram. Now let us look at a reflex action. So what is a reflex action? It's an immediate response to stimulus without the intervention of brain, controlled by spinal cord or central nervous system. Reflex action is an autonomic motor response to a sensory stimulus without brain being immediately involved. Reflex actions are very quick and fast. They follow the shortest route for quick response, and these are mostly protective in function. And you know there are two types of reflexes. One is simple reflex, other is the acquired reflex. Simple reflex is unconditional, inborn, unlearned reflex to a stimulus. Example, blinking when an object comes near to our eyes suddenly, and a child sucking the milk, the newborn baby, that is also a simple reflex. Acquired reflex is called as it is dependent on and this was first established by Ivan Petrovich Pavlov in A Hungry Dog. Let us look at what does a reflex arc consist of? It consists of a receptor, an afferent neuron, which is a sensory neuron, an interneuron, an efferent neuron or a motor neuron, and an effector organ. So when a stimulus is picked up by the receptor, it is sent through the sensory neuron, which is taken to the interneuron of the spinal cord, in the spinal cord, and this immediately responds to the stimulus, and this response is taken by the motor organ, which again makes the effector organ, which is again a muscle or a gland, to act and give the suitable response. Now let us look at the sense organs. You have two sense organs. One is eye and other is the ear. So diagram is also very important. You should learn to identify the parts, its functions too. Now, an adult eye, human eyeball is a spherical structure. So, sensory organs, detect all types of changes in the environment and send signals to the central nervous system, where all the inputs are processed and analyzed. Signals are then sent to different parts or centers of the brain. Now, let us look at the eyes. So, now if you look at the adult human, it is composed of three layers: external layer, middle layer, and inner layer. External layer is composed of a dense connective tissue and it is called the sclera. The anterior portion of this layer is called the cornea. The middle layer, choroid, contains many blood vessels. Choroid layer becomes thick in the anterior part to form the ciliary body. Ciliary body forms a pigmented and opaque structure called the iris, and this iris is the visible colored part of the eye. The eyeball contains a transparent crystalline lens which is held in place by ligaments attached to the ciliary body. In front of the lens, the aperture surrounded by the iris is called as the pupil. The inner layer is the retina, which contains ganglion cells, bipolar cells, and photoreceptor cells. There are two types of photoreceptor cells, that is rods and cones. The daylight vision and color vision are the functions of the cones, and the UV light vision is the function of the rods. The optic nerves leave the eye and the retinal blood vessels enter it at a point medial to and slightly above the posterior pole of the eyeball. Photoreceptor cells are not present in region called blind spot. A yellowish pigmented spot called macula lutea with a central pit called fovea is present at the posterior pole of the eye. The space between the cornea and the lens is called aqueous chamber and contains a thin watery fluid called aqueous humor. The space between the lens and the retina is called as the vitreous chamber and it is filled with a vitreous humor. Now, how does the ear really work? The mechanism of vision. The light rays focuses on retina through the cornea and lens generates potentials in the rods and cones. Human eye contains opsin, which is a protein, and retinal, it is an aldehyde of vitamin A, retinine. Now, light induces dissociation of the retinal form opsin, resulting in changes in the structure of the opsin, and this causes membrane permeability. Potential difference is generated and produces a signal that generates action potential in the ganglion cells. These action polar cells potentials are transmitted by the optic poles to the visual cortex area of the brain, where the neural impulses are analyzed and image on the retina is recognized based on the earlier experience. Now the next organ we have is the ear. So this diagram is also very important and also its parts. The outer ear consists of pinna and external auditory meatus. The pinna collects the vibrations in the air which produces the sound. The external auditory meatus leads inwards and extends up to the tympanic membrane. Tympanic membrane is composed of connective tissue covered with skin outside and mucous membrane inside. So the next part will be the middle ear. The middle ear contains the three ear ossicles, malleus, incus, and stapes, which are attached like a chain. Malleus is attached to the tympanic membrane and stapes is attached to the oval window of the cochlea. The membranes constituting the cochlea, resinus and bacillars divide the surrounding perilymph tissue which fills the bony labyrinth. Organ of Corti is a structure located on the basilar membrane which contains hair cells that act as auditory receptors. Now the third part will be the inner ear. Inner ear contains a vestibular apparatus which is composed of three semicircular canals and the otolith organ consisting of saccule and atricle. The base of the canals is swollen and it is called as the ampulla. Saccule and atricle contains a projecting ridge and it is called as the macula. The crista and the macula are the specific receptors of vestibular apparatus that are responsible for the maintenance of the balance of the body and posture. That is why when sometimes when there is a disturbance in the ear, you find a little dizzy because of inner ear there is an imbalance. Now mechanism of hearing. The external ear receives sound waves and directs them to the eardrum. The eardrum vibrates in response to the sound waves and the vibrations are transmitted through the ear ossicles to the oval window. The vibrations are then passed through the oval window to the fluid of the cochlea where they generate waves in the lymph. These waves generate ripple in the basilar membrane. As a result, nerve impulses are generated in the associated afferent neurons. These impulses are transmitted by the afferent fibers via auditory nerves to the auditory cortex of the brain, where the impulses are analyzed and the sound is recognized. Now, with this, we complete with our concepts that are very important in this lesson. Now, let us look into our tests. Now, okay. A neuron is a microscopic structure composed of three major parts, that is cell body and dendrite, the cell body, dendrite and axon. The cell body contains cytoplasm with typical organelles and certain typical cell organelles and substances called Nissls granules. The dash is a long fiber, the distal end of which is branched. So let us try to identify now. C is the cell body. So in 3 you have it. A is dendrite. So we can choose dendrite as A. And third is axon. It is Nissls granules and axon. So A is the choice. See, when we are doing, time is very important. You can't be analyzing at each and every choice for questions like this. The minute you try to identify the first thing, see what all have the first things in common. Then you limit your choice. Once you limit, look for the second criteria. If the second criteria here I found it is dendrite and dendrite is not found here. So I am sure that this is the answer and so I am clicking it there. Identify the structure and fill in the blanks. The distal end of axon is branch and each branch terminates as a bulb-like structure called. So these are the different parts you are supposed to identify it. So A is going to be the Schwann cell, B is the myelin sheath, C is the node of Ranvier, synaptic cleft and the synaptic knobs. Now let us look into it. Schwann cell. So the first one is Schwann cell. So it is found only here. That means to say this is my correct choice. So let me click on it. Schwann cell, myelin sheath, nodes of Ranvier. D is axon terminal, synaptic knob and synaptic knob. Presynaptic neurons, in response to stimuli, release their neurotransmitters in the synaptic cleft. That released neurotransmitters bind to their specific receptors. And what is A? It is called A is nothing but synaptic vesicle. Now let us look at this. So the answer is synaptic vesicle, receptors, synaptic cleft, receptors and synaptic vesicles. Now dash consists of dash, dash and dash and this forms the major part of the human brain. So it is obviously forebrain, cerebrum, thalamus and hypothalamus. The largest part will be the cerebrum. So thalamus, hypothalamus and A canal called dash passes through the midbrain. Dash and dash form the dash. Now the canal, you know, it is cerebral aqueduct. Now where does it pass through? It passes through the midbrain and the hindbrain, and this is the answer. The left and right cerebral hemispheres are connected by a track of nerve fibers called dash. The dash comprises dash, dash and dash. So you know that it is made up of corpus callosum. So when it is corpus callosum, hindbrain comprises pons, cerebellum and medulla. So here they have changed it to spinal cord. So be careful with the choices. It will be very tricky in your exams. So that is the answer. Now identify the structure and mark G, H, I and J in the order of the picture. So this is going to be your reflex arc. So if we are looking at the picture, one is going to be gray matter, white matter, motor neuron and interneuron. So gray matter, white matter, motor neuron and interneuron. So A is the answer. The external layer amongst the three layers of the eye is composed of a dense connective tissue and it is called dash. The anterior portion of this layer is called the dash. The middle layer dash contains many blood vessels and looks bluish in color. The dash layer is thin over the posterior 2/3 of the eyeball, but it becomes thick in the anterior part to form the dash. Now let us look at it. It is the sclera, cornea, choroid and the ciliary body. So this is the answer. The dash itself continues forward to form a pigmented and opaque structure called the dash, which is visible colored portion of the eye. That must be the iris. The eyeball contains a transparent crystalline lens which is held in place by the ligaments attached to the ciliary body. The inner layer is the retina. So I want the first one is the ciliary body. Ciliary body, iris, iris, lens, ciliary body and the retina. So this is the answer. The dash leaves the eye and the retinal blood vessels enter it at a point medial to and slightly above the posterior pole of the eyeball. Photoreceptor cells are not present in that region and hence it is called dash. At the posterior pole of the eye lateral to the dash, there is a yellowish pigmented spot called dash with a central pit called dash. So this is going to be the optic nerve. The second one is going to be the blind spot. Again, it has to be the blind spot. It is macula lutea and fovea centralis. So this is the choice. So be careful. Here it is given macula alba and here it is macula lutea. Only from this choice you are able to differentiate the two. The space between the cornea and the lens is called the aqueous chamber and contains a thin watery fluid called aqueous humor. The space between the lens and retina is called as the vitreous chamber and it is filled with a transparent gel called vitreous humor. So aqueous chamber, aqueous humor, vitreous chamber, vitreous humor. The middle ear contains three ossicles called incus, malleus, incus and stapes which are attached to one another in a chain-like fashion. The dash is attached to dash. That means to say the malleus is attached to the tympanic membrane and it is attached to the stapes of the cochlea. Okay, now let us look here. It could be malleus, incus and stapes. Malleus to the tympanic membrane, stapes and oval window. A synapse is formed by the membranes of presynaptic neuron and a postsynaptic neuron which may or may not be separated by a gap called synaptic cleft. Regarding the electrical and chemical impulses, synapses, choose the incorrect one. So impulse transmission across an electrical synapse is always slower than across a chemical synapse. So we have completed the test. Let me look at the 13th question. Coordination, sorry, I have left this question. two or more organs which interact and complement the function of one another. Save. Okay. End test. Oh, there is one wrong question. Let me see. So identify the structures marked. So it is the, okay. I said it is motor neuron. Again, I made a mistake while clicking it and made it as the interneuron. I overlooked the choice. So here comes the thing where I had to be very careful when you're taking the answer. See, even when I'm doing it for practice, I'm able to get wrong answers. When you are clicking it, please click it properly. And now if there is a yellow thing, if you question, this will be shown as an yellow tile, and once you click on that tile, you are going to get the answer along with the explanation. Since it is going in for negative corrections, if you are not thorough with the answers, please understand that you should not answer it. Now for example, if I'm going to get 14 fours, I'm going to get 76 marks. Okay, now out of 15 fours, sorry, not 76, 56, sorry, 56 marks, then I'm going to lose 1 mark from my total. I'm going to lose 1 mark from my total, and that is going to bring down my scores. So if you're not thorough with the answers, please don't click it just like doing inky pinky ponky. It's going to cost you very bad. It's going to cost you very high in the exams in terms of marks. Now let us get back to, and this completes the test. And before I conclude the session, let me just talk to you about our full package tests, what we have. NEET full test. There are 38 tests, out of which 15 are teacher created tests. We have looked into all the kinds of questions that can come in for your NEET exams and prepared it, and 20 past year question papers which are completely solved. All the 38 tests have got complete solutions, and if you are able to do this, I think you will really be able to score very well in your NEET exams. I would again suggest that you go in for this package. And if you want any additional help, you can use our Ask feature on our site, and we support chat group using Telegram. If you can want any one-to-one tutoring in any of the subjects, even for particular subject if you need it, you can book slots with the tutors. And if you have any inquiries which about these 2 points, you can mail your query to info@play6.com. Thank you.